We are delighted that you're joining us for another podcast of Wake Up Aligned, and it is the podcast for chiropractors where we get to talk about chiropractic lifestyle, and topics of interest. You can contact us through our email, and that is mailbag@amcfamily.com.
All right, well, welcome back to another episode of Wake Up Aligned. This is your podcast, the Chiropractors Podcast, where we get to talk about any topic that's relatable or interesting to the chiropractic lifestyle. And I can tell you that myself and the guest I have in the studio this week, we want exactly that. We want to empower, we want to inspire, and we want to motivate chiropractors, because you are very, very special in a healthcare industry that is failing. It's failing our communities, yet there's chiropractic like the light on a hill. And like I said, I do have a special guest on the show today. A lot of you know him, but let me just give you a real quick background. He and I have been working together for, good gracious, well over 20 years. It kind of ages us, but he has got an absolute burning passion for chiropractors. Now, he also has a passion for chiropractic. He has a background in the Gonstead field, so he can talk from that perspective. But his real burning desire is to see chiropractors succeed. So without any further ado, let me introduce everyone to Dr. Greg Miller. So, Dr. Greg, you want to say hello to everybody and tell them a little bit of background and where we're headed today?
Well, thank you, Tom. I absolutely will do that, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity. I'm not sure how I've avoided, maybe that's not the right word, being on here with you up to this point, but here we are, and I'm excited about the opportunity to just talk chiropractic. I kind of have an idea where we're headed today, but I suspect that could turn out a little bit more interesting. I am, as you said, I have a history in chiropractic, almost 25 years doing the Gonstead work, smack dab in the middle of Nebraska. Absolutely love chiropractic. I think it was about 4 years into practice, I came across AMC, and that would have been around 99, I think. So I think we're right on with 20 years. And changed everything. I had that practice that, without question, was in a good market, right man, land plan, right? We had the right land.
You had a lot of cattle there, because I know you had to adjust in cattle because there's not enough people there. But
no. Well, they supported me. We were doing 20.
One way or another, you were making money, weren't you? You were doing all right.
Once I figured out how to educate a patient that, chiropractic could be a lifestyle, it changed everything. So I'm hoping we can get a chance to talk about some of that today too. But thrilled to be here. Thrilled to have an opportunity. Hopefully we can have an impact on somebody that's listening in.
Well, I'm sure you will, because you have inspired a lot of chiropractors over the years, Dr. Greg, and I'll say thank you. I'll say thank you for myself, but I'm going to thank you for all of the people that you've really made a difference in, not just patients. There's a lot of, that's what's cool about working in a family like AMC and Aligned, is that we don't get to meet the millions of patients. Some way and somehow, directly and indirectly, we connect and touch the lives of millions of patients every month, right? So we do make a difference. And anyway, let's talk about some of the differences that we're making. Here we are. We're kind of right here at the beginning of a new year. I had somebody really knock me for a loop last week. It was Dr. McMurtry, actually. And he goes, by the way, Tom, he goes, you're about a week in. He goes, you're over 1% of your years done. I went, well, great. Hopefully I made it worthwhile. But, people take time for granted, right? There's just another day in the office. But I'm telling you, the days tick by and you only have so much time to make a difference in your career. There's an old saying that I've lived by for a long time. And for the longest time, I thought I was in those early stages, right? But it says you've got learning years, you've got earning years, and then you have yearning years, right? And thankfully, I'm still in those earning years. I'm not quite to that point, but I've said before, I've got a lot more in my rearview mirror than I do in my windshield. But make no mistake about it. No matter where you are in your career, folks, it goes quick.
Oh, man.
And you just don't take any day or moment for granted. You don't take an office visit for granted. We're going to talk today about things that really move the needle inside a practice, but that's one of them, is staying in the moment and staying with the who's the most important person in the world? Dr. Greg? The person in front of you.
The next patient. Yep.
Yeah. So, but we are here at the beginning of a new year, and before I go just jumping into the new year and just never taking account, I want to just celebrate some of the wins that are happening out there in the Aligned family. 2022 was an enormous year. There was a lot that took place inside the Aligned family from my side, from my perspective, and I don't mind talking about some of that. But more importantly, just the wins that are happening in these practices. I've got a couple of shout outs I want to give. And like I said, I'm literally looking at pages, folks. So, right, this has to be a 30, 40 minute show. And I could literally read off 30 to 40 minutes worth of honorable mentions and wins that are happening out there. But I'm going to give just a couple of quick ones. How about the Eliases? There's just somebody. And their coach shared this with me last week, Dr. Greg. I think you might have seen it too in the CRM.
I did, yeah.
But they have been consistently collecting around $40K the last 3 months. I've got a lot of stats here, but here's one that was interesting. They grew quarter by quarter. They grew from zero POC referrals. And I thought we might talk about referrals a little bit today. I know that's going to be something everybody's interested in, but they went from zero POC referrals to 27.
So they weren't doing it.
Well, I don't know. Their mentor is going to have to tell me all the ins and outs of that. But they grew their referrals internally just in quarter 4 over quarter 3 by 32%. And they grew the entire year. They grew another 31%. Over the years as the year progressed, but they just finished their first full year in practice, and they ended with over $375,000 in collections.
That's impressive.
That's impressive. Did you do that your first year?
No, my first year with AMC, I did.
No. You don't.
But not my first year.
First year practice. No.
Of course, I was only collecting $20 an adjustment then, but
per cow. I get it. All right. I got a couple other ones. And I think you had a couple that you wanted to talk about too, but I'm also going to give a shout out to Dr. Nicole Mercado.
She's amazing.
She is amazing and had quite a challenge.
She had a year.
Somebody can somebody else can talk about those personal factors, but she had health challenges in this year. And this is her first full year. So her first full year open and had very major, significant health challenges. And she collected over $375,000 her first year open. So right starters coming out of the block and never having to look back. I love that.
We're spoiling them.
Do what?
We're spoiling them.
Spoiling them, yeah. Yeah, because they don't know what they don't know.
They don't know.
They had never had to deal with all those missteps and challenges, and some people call them mistakes, but as long as you're learning,
true. It's
not a mistake. Don't be hard on yourselves though, out there, folks. Your best experiences in life are not sometimes your best experience is your worst experience. Because when you're going through it, you think it's the worst, but it ends up being one of the best because that wisdom that comes from it, as long as you're learning and moving forward, that's the key, is to keep pressing forward. The challenges never stop.
Oh,
you and I both know the older we get, we might be wiser, but it doesn't mean we avoid mistakes. It doesn't mean we avoid challenges. Mm-hmm. But the key is that I've learned is always keep moving forward. I heard the analogy not long ago. I think it was Dr. Osborne that was telling the story about talking about Nebraska and cows. Cows run with the storm. They run in front of the storm. They run away from the storm, where a bison will run straight through the storm. And then they come out and they go through the storm much faster. And basically they've learned that from that thousands of years of nature. But with that said, how about you? Wrapping up the 2022?
Well, I want to say one thing, because if I don't say it, we're going to forget it. But to those right starters and those doctors that we're spoiling, if you're listening, do not forget there are doctors watching you that need to know about your success and how you're doing it. So do not be afraid to share your story. And I know we'll probably talk more about that, but I just felt like I needed to just kind of plant that seed, because it's really, really important. I mean, there are storms. I mean, life is full of storms, and you got to have people that have your back to weather those. So, and I'll just, you were talking about time. Last Thursday, I had to tell my youngest son he was halfway to 50. So there you go. Time is ticking away, and he was born, when I was in practice, and it's just crazy to think of how fast that happens. And so just live those moments and live them right. But yes, I think I'm going to start with Dr. Eddie Johns. He is here in Florida, and he's in Parrish, Florida, I believe. And he just started his third year in practice. Now, he's got quite a history where he came from. He was working with another doctor as an associate. I think we have perhaps 3 AMC members now that have worked for that guy. Kind of a history there. But Dr. Johns jumped on board with the Right Start program, and it's just no holds barred. Christy, your sister, she did a visit into his office this past fall, and he has got an outstanding AMC office. He's doing it right. And that's kind of why I want to share his numbers. He just started his third year in practice, and in 2022 was his second year. He blew past his goals. Now, of course, his goal is $1 million practice, but he went from 600 to just shy of $800,000 in a year. He did 600 in the COVID nonsense, and then he went into 2022 and grew by almost $200,000. So when we sit here a year from now and we have this same conversation, I fully expect to see that young man having busted through that $1 million practice mark. And he's doing it well. And and when I say that, Tom, he's using the system. He understands the importance of the protocols and the procedures, but he recognizes that it's not about him. He recognizes that every single patient deserves his very best. And I've been amazed. Some of our coaching calls don't have anything to do with AMC aligned. They're about patient care. And he's sending me x-rays and he's asking, how do I take this patient to a whole nother level? When you fall in love with your patients and fall in love with your practice like that, it's not hard to see those kind of numbers and that kind of growth. So I'm really proud of him. I thumped my chest as a coach for him. And then I'm going to flip it to a doc that I just started working with. He just found AMC this past year, not even half.
I believe that was at Fab.
I think that's right. Halfway through the year.
I think I know who you're about to talk about.
Yeah.
The reason I said that.
Yeah, Dr. Connor Knapp.
Yeah.
Just close to my heart. He's a Gunstead guy. He's been, how do I say, pounding the turf for 4 years, working really, really hard. Got some stuff in his head that he's having to work through. But I was so proud of him in December, which typically anybody that jumps on board with AMC is going to say, what about December? Slowest month of the year, right? It's the excuse. Everybody's doing holidays and all this kind of stuff. This doc turned around and had his best month ever in December of this year. But here, I want to see if I can highlight this. He sent me a text message. We've been talking about, on our coaching calls, we've been talking about expectations and visualizations and not the rubbing crystals together stuff, right? We're just talking about how do you run a business and how do you cast a vision? How do you wear that vision, on your chest all day long as you're seeing patients? So we've been talking about expectations, and he sent me this text on the 31st of December. And he said, it couldn't be a better week for expectations and having the right mindset. Monday, I had 3 cancellations, and I said, I'll get 3 more to make up for it. And I got 3 later that day and 2 more later that week. Now, some of you docs with the big numbers, that doesn't mean much. For this doc, that is a huge breakthrough, and I couldn't be more proud of him. I'm so excited. He also texted, I was saying I'd get another new patient, and I got 2. And I said, no one will refer soon. I'm sorry. And I said, 1 will refer soon, and he did after the first visit. Mm-hmm. So he's captured that referral. We've been talking about that as an expectation, which we're probably going to hear in a little bit. And I also got a prepay to finish off the year in our best month ever. I'm excited to get going in 2023.
Makes me think of, spinning your wheels. And an old analogy, a couple of analogies came to mind when you were talking about that, is blessed are those that go in circles, for they shall be called wheels. Yeah. Right? Don't confuse motion with progress. And the poor guy's been out there grinding, spinning the wheels in the mud or the snow, however you want to do it, and until they get traction. And that's what's happening. His efforts never faltered him. His efforts never failed him. But if you're applying and not getting the traction, and the principles allow for the traction, and he's starting to see it, he's starting to experience it. And, when you're moving out of the mud or moving out of the snow, you just, what the key is to get that car moving.
Momentum.
Right? Momentum. And he is starting to see, and he's going to blaze a new trail for sure.
I can't wait. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, I'm excited for him, because I remember he did come on board at Fab, and, talking about just 2022, putting it in the rearview mirror. I mean, I want to give shout outs to the AMC Align team. I always talk about the calmness of a duck on the water, right? Duck on the water up top looks nice and calm. Everything's nice and easy, but below he's paddling like hell, right? And that was a lot of the AMC Align team, because 2022 was a lot of work. There was a lot of work going on behind the scenes, because if folks hadn't figured it out, we went through a rebrand process after, over 25 years, almost 27 years in business. AMC will always be AMC. The heart of AMC will never change. But that was a lot of work behind the scenes. And we launched here in the last 2 years. I was just talking to Dr. Zach Wilson over the weekend, and he made a remark to me and said, he goes, just the work that's been done over the last couple of years. He goes, I've never, ever, and he's been around for 15 years. He says, I've never seen AMC or Align so poised with so much to offer. He goes, there is not anything, there is no way. He goes, doesn't matter what they're practicing, what their philosophy, what their technique. He goes, AMC and Align has the answer for any chiropractor, for any desire or any goal. And that stands to be true, because just think about some of the programs that have been launched in the last couple of years. CA coaching's been a lot longer than 2 years, but I mean, that moves the needle with every office it touches. Vitalio and all the nutritional components that team has brought, and, the ease of implementation. I know you're working over there with Zing Performance, Dr. Greg, and let's not disregard what was launched in 2022, which is the Apex program. Really, talking about setting expectations with Dr. Connor Knapp, the expectation is every member should be striving and setting an expectation to be in that Apex program. Because if you want to take your thinking and your life, not your career, your just overall life to a completely different level, a different stratosphere of concepts and the way of thinking and the way of living in abundance, you got to be in that program. And so I'm super proud of the Blue Coat team. Nobody says no. Everyone steps to the plate and says whatever it takes. So super proud of this team. But, we hit on a couple of things as we were going through those honorable mentions, those shout outs. the Eliases.
Mm-hmm.
There was a change, a transformation somewhere in there, right? Their mentor, if they had the microphone, they would talk about something changed when it came to referrals, right? Obviously, you were just talking about setting an expectation or referral expectation with Dr. Connor Knapp. Referrals is it, right? I mean, if we want to wrap this show into and talk about a topic that's every chiropractor can relate with. Again, doesn't matter where you graduated, doesn't matter your philosophy, doesn't matter your technique, it doesn't matter the size of your practice. I bet every chiropractor out there would agree that they would much rather see a patient that's been referred to them rather than any type of marketing. Doesn't matter what kind of marketing doing. Doesn't matter if it's, you're out there doing screenings, you're out there doing health talk, community outreach, or you're spending $2,500, $3,000 a month on social media. The better quality patient comes from the referrals. That's why everybody that walks across the stage at any one of the campuses, they walk across there with this idea in their head that their dream practice is a self-sustaining, stress-free, referral-based practice. So why don't we do that, Dr. Greg? Because, that's obviously something very close to your heart when it comes to referral practicing, because that's when you get the referral practicing mechanism down, there's a confidence that takes place every time the calendar changes to another month, right? If you're buying new patients, if you're constantly marketing for new patients, it's hard to go into the next month knowing that you have to hit some type of status, a stat line, because the overhead turns over. The overhead turns over every 30 days, and then you got to be able to reproduce. And without that referral mechanism, that confidence going in every month of going, well, I can expect I'm seeing 300 patient visits or I'm seeing 100 patient visits a week, whatever it is. When we're operating the way you and I know how to operate a clinic, we can go into each and every month expecting a certain number of referrals if we got all those components working. So let's talk about referrals and referral practicing, and then how it relates to the chiropractor. And even I heard you mention the right starters a while ago. Most chiropractors are not experiencing this stuff. Their colleagues in school that are coming out and graduating with them, folks, make no mistake about it. There's only there's about 20 to 25% of the graduates that will never ever utilize the diploma.
I know.
It's crazy. And then we have upwards to a 50% default rate or failure rate within the first 3 years after graduation. So they need to hear about it. So let's talk about it from both sides of the coin.
It's important to note on that, though, that's never happened inside of AMC with the Right Start program. That those failures, those default rates. That's why we can do what we can do.
That's very right. That's a good point. 28 years. We're going into our 28th year. Is that right? I don't know. I'm getting so old I can't remember all of it. But in 28 years, we still have 0 defaults.
Yeah.
We haven't had one.
We have a great relationship with the SBA for that reason.
That's correct.
From what I understand. I don't get involved in that. But look, Tom, I think because I have taught that referral class for so many years, and I feel like I've got referral platelets running around in my bloodstream just because of how much I've had those conversations with doctors. And I was thinking about all the hats I've worn around AMC, and coaching. It's probably the one I've worn the longest, and it's absolutely what I love to do because we get to teach how to do all of these things. And there's a class we have at our summits. It's called the Depth and Genius of AMC. And that phrase has been around for a long, long time, but it's real. It's true. And if I were to kind of try to encapsulate that and just say, look, what is the depth and genius of AMC? Well, we'd be here for a lot longer than we're allowed to be in terms of how much time we get. But it would be how simple it really is to capture referrals when you use a system. And the AMC system is, of course, what we're talking about. And it is so simple. And I think of, and I have to say this, like for years, I taught that class and it never failed. When Dr. Owen was with us, he would at some point or another show up in the back of that classroom and he would wait. It was almost like we had choreographed it. And he would wait for the opportunity to say, Dr. Miller, have you told him yet? Dr. Owen's the easiest way to capture a new patient or to get a referral. And I say, nope, Dr. Owen, I've been waiting for you to come and tell us. And just for lack of time or for saving time, I mean, it's just simply asking for it. That was his secret to capturing referrals. One of the things that's so amazing to me is I just watch these doctors year after year after year coaching, and they're not using the tools that they have in front of them to simply ask for a referral, because people want to share their story. They want to do that. I mean, when you go to a family gathering, who's sitting over in the corner talking about all their aches and pains? Well, what if we flipped the script on that and started talking about the positive things that are happening in their life and the results that they're getting? And look, Tom, I'm going to go sideways here a little bit, but it's the same thing. We have doctors that are listening. We don't have patients necessarily listening to our podcast. We have chiropractors listening to our podcast right now. And docs, you have to understand that if you start sharing your story, if you start sharing the success that you're experiencing in your office because of your relationship with Aligned and AMC, that is going to benefit you in so many ways. We don't have enough time to talk about all the ways, but innately, you start saying positive things about your practice and positive things about the results that your patients are experiencing, they're going to share their story, and you are going to share your story with other chiropractors. Docs, they're struggling. They're so frustrated. They don't know where to turn. They've heard all these stories about how horrible it is to become associated with a management company. And yet we see the results consistently year after year, month after month, day after day that we see in here because of this system. It is designed around building referrals. There's just not a part of it. It starts in the consultation, the expectation of a referral. And we should be doing the same thing for all of the doctors in chiropractic. Wouldn't that be something amazing to have all or a huge percentage of the chiropractic profession using the AMC system? What would that do for us as a profession? Blows my mind to think.
And you are correct when you say we don't have enough time to dive into this deep enough. But, when you talked about Dr. Owen coming into the room, you have to ask for it. And that's true. I mean, the biggest thing is most chiropractors are out there selling chiropractic rather than recommending the best, expecting the best, letting the chips fall where they may, and then setting expectations. So, if the key to, yes, you can ask for referral, but you don't beg for referrals. That's a difference.
No. Yeah.
You set an expectation for referrals. And why you mentioned it all starts in consultation. I can see myself teaching that class. And why does a person refer? Why do you refer? Why does one patient refer another patient? Why should you out there heed what Dr. Greg's talking about and find the next doctor in need and send them to AMC or Aligned? Is it for AMC and Aligned's benefit? No. But why did they do it? Why do I refer to my realtor? Why do I refer to my electrician? Right? Why do I refer to my mechanic? Why do people refer? Why do people stick their neck out? And it's not just because of results. It's never about results. My realtor has not sold that many of my properties over the years, right? It doesn't do it as fast. But you know what? I really like him. I like him. I like him as a person. I like him how he conducts his business. And by the way, a lot of chiropractors out there have got that one down. They got a big friendship practice and everyone loves them, right? But the second component is I don't refer because of results, but I do refer because of respect and value. I respect and value how they conduct themselves and so on. So when you say, yeah, you need to ask for the referral, that's correct. But you only ask for the referral after you've established that relationship, that authenticity that it's not about you, it's not about the doctor, and it's not about selling them, not convincing them. It's being real to where that they like you, they respect and value. And then, you know what? That's the old disappoint mama factor. You know, when you like somebody and you respect and value them, you don't want to disappoint them. So there's a lot of components to the referral, referral component. But you said something when you had the microphone, Dr. Greg. You said, but what's the depth and genius of it is that it's so simple. And when people hear the word simple, they go, oh, it's basic. Oh, it's elementary. No. Some of the biggest truth, the simplest truths in life are the most profound. They're deep. Mm-hmm. But most people talk about on a surface level. And that's what a lot of members do. They stay so surface level, thinking it's about a procedure, and it's about checklists, and it's about, I got to do this component. I got to do my 5-point office visit. I'm talking to the members for a second. You know, I got to do the 10-visit checklist. It's not a checklist. That's the worst title I could have ever given that thing. I designed that from day one, and it's not a checklist. It's a way of operating with the doctor-patient relationship. So, like I said, folks, that's a subject that we can go on and on and on. But I need to wrap this show up. Dr. Greg, love to have you back on here. Maybe continue this. We can stay on referrals, I think, for a while. But tell the listeners what you're doing inside of AMC in 2023. What's kind of your goals and expectations or positions that you're taking on?
I'd be happy to do that quickly here. Again, I was thinking last night about all the hats I've worn, the directorship roles, and all the different things I've done, with you together in this with this opportunity. But currently, I have just the amazing opportunity to breathe some life into a referral directorship. I think we've talked about, we have the Eagle Club inside of AMC, and that's probably one of the, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't got there till you've gotten that Eagle Club award. And there's several of us over the years that have a lot of different Eagles for the referrals that we've brought in as part of the opportunity we have to help this profession. So I'm looking forward to breathing life into that. You aligned AMC doctors, be prepared to hear more from me in that regard. We're going to have some fun doing it. At the same time, we're going to watch this profession change because of it. And so I'm excited about that. I'm going to be stepping back in and helping with the launch coaching process. So those of you who are listening in and thinking about becoming a part of what we're doing here at AMC, which you should be, we do have that 90-day launch program, which we are trained specifically to identify and correct the things that are keeping, like you mentioned, friendship practice. What are we going to do to get away from a friendship practice to one that is, it's a lifelong practice that grows the way it's supposed to? So I'm going to be working with that. And then very recently, we recognize the need out there in our profession for the virtual relationships. So we're going to be working on some virtual events throughout the year. So I've got several things going on. So hopefully you'll won't get tired of hearing my voice and seeing my face.
That's a lot. That's a lot cooking on your side there. But that the Eagle Club is just, that's the heart of this family, and if you're not an Eagle Club member, you're not operating at that level of abundance that I talk about. There's something that happens. There's just something that happens, and it's the old principle of you give for the sake of giving. If you give and can give me a reason why you're giving, you're not walking in abundance. And you love for the sake of loving. If you can tell me why, if I can tell you why I love my wife, or my wife can tell me why she loves me, probably not really love, because love can't be understood. So when you're giving and sharing, that's what that is. When you're going out and seeing and finding that next person in need, yeah, they're going to be rewarded, and you may never even get a an ounce of appreciation or a thank you for it. But man, what it does, it transforms you. It just makes a difference in you. And you experienced it early on, 20-something years ago, Greg, and you've never been the same since, right? And that's why it's such a burning passion. Listen, folks, great episode here today, Dr. Greg. Dr. Greg and I are like that. We get in a room and we just connect, and he and I have our hearts are in sync on a lot of components when it comes to chiropractic. But listen, until next time, I encourage you, set expectations. You're at the cusp, or you're at the launch of a brand new year. And as I said earlier, we're already 1 or 2, 3% into the new year. What are we going to accomplish? Set expectations. And I'm going to tell you right here and now, I expect you, each and every one of the Align members, if you're a listener to this podcast, get off your tail and meet us at those 6 summits. Your life will be transformed, and you'll hear so much more about all the other things that are happening in this show. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Live well, serve well, and walk in abundance. Love and appreciate you.
And one more thing before we go. If you're a chiropractor who's searching for a better way to build a more sustainable, low-stress practice, then you can contact us at amcfamily.com. You can schedule a discovery session, or you can access any of our free content, webinars, podcasts, and the like.